3, 2, 1, and we are back. We are having a little bit of some technical issues. Seems like our... Hello. Yeah, it seems like our two lives are not meshing for whatever reason, and I'm trying to figure out if there's anything on my end that I can do about that, but I have no idea. So we shall see. If not, this may be a very, very short live, unless someone has any particular things they want to chat about tonight. It's unfortunate, though. I hate when there's glitches. And it's always when everybody feels so confident that everything's going to go smoothly. Let's see. Nope. Interesting, interesting. Have not had this issue before. Let's see. I wonder... Just trying to see if I can figure this out on my end. But we shall see. She might be able to pop back in there. I think it was something to do with our settings, and we both set them slightly differently, and so they just didn't want to like each other. Food for thought for the future. But in the meantime, we'll see if she can log back in, and we can get this going. But until then, yeah, so as I was kind of saying a little bit ago, I am an author of various epic fantasy series. I range from the more milder versions, so think of a little more like the Lord of the Rings side of epic fantasy, where predominantly most people survive. And it's obviously full of all sorts of sweeping adventure and questing and all that kind of stuff. So that is on one side of my gamut. And then the other ones are toward the darker side. My Viking series goes not exactly true grimdark, but close enough in many ways. Though I'm sure a true grimdark author would argue against him.
Yay, we figured it out.
Hell yeah. So
Fun.
the way to do it is you have to go in and delete the live event to have it actually do it.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I had no idea. I've never had that issue before, so I'm learning. I learn something new every time.
Yeah, the mature feature is new. So that's got to be a new feature. I don't know. I don't deal with the clock app. I don't.
Well, welcome. You figured it out. I can't even claim credit on this. I was just kind of like, I need to log off for 5, and then tap, 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 could not figure anything out. So I'm glad you're tech savvy, and because I am not.
No. I went on a hunch, and that's about it. So.
Hey, it works. It works very well. Yeah. And I love your necklace, by the way.
Thank you. Keto fashion. Love them.
Love it. Okay, so now that we're together and synced up perfectly, how I try to run these when things go a little more smoothly is my co-host of the week, which is you. You'll introduce yourself, talk about what you write, and I'll do that on the flip side because there's always new people logging on, and then from there we'll go where the evening takes us, and usually that's pertaining to writing and fantasy, but who knows? It could be other things too.
Sounds good. Well, I'm BJ Rysewyk. My debut is A Widow's Web, dark epic fantasy. I mean, there's not really much to know about me. Napstar life, basically, and that's pretty much it.
I bet there's so much more about that too. But actually, show me your cover again, because as I was floundering around earlier, I love that because I do these questions of the day on my profile, and today's question, all bookish questions, was, can anybody name a book with a skull on the cover? And it happened, and I had it refreshed, what you wrote about at the time. And so when I did that a little bit ago, I was like, that's so funny.
Yeah. There's a theme today, guys.
Yes.
Definitely.
Well, I'm Katharine Wibell, if anybody does not know me, and I'm an epic fantasy writer. I have 3 different series at the moment, and they range from the lighter side of fantasy, so a little more Tolkien-esque, where it's, that questing and adventure and most people survive kind of storyline. And that one is the Jeg Chronicles. It's for young adults. It starts with the 12 tasks. The second one, the Vagarian Sire, is out. And the third one, as I rock the camera, will be kicked off next year, mid to late January, or my first Kickstarter campaigns. We'll see how that works, because I've never done one to use that as a way to launch a book. So I'm excited about that prospect. It's a lot of work in the forefront, so I'm figuring that out. I also have the Incarn Saga. It's a 4-book series. It's my only complete series. It's a war shifter fantasy for new adults set in a kingdom, as I kind of mentioned, on the verge of war, where both the humans and the shapeshifters have to decide if they can put aside the differences to unite and defend their kingdom against a greater threat. And then my third series, which you can never see on these night ones because the lighting is so bad, but it's called the Guardian Speaker. There are 8 of them out right now, and they are a really dark twist to Norse mythology. So think Vikings and dark fantasy combined, and they're a lot of fun to write and read. And they're on the novella side, so they're little quick reads.
Right on.
So I do like my dark fantasy as well. So let me ask you, because this is you said debut book. Mm-hmm. So how did you get into writing? How did this idea come up? Where did it, stem from?
So that's a 2-parter. So
I love 2-parters. Let's do this.
How I got started writing was actually out of jealousy. So my sophomore year in high school, I had switched cliques with friends, and I started hanging out with these new group of girls, but one of their friends had to go to another high school because she moved 4 miles down the road, which made her out of our district. So one of my now really good friends, she was talking about this other friend of theirs that, oh yeah, she's writing a book and it's really good. And, oh my God, 13-year-old brains, we're not the greatest. So my first thought, and I still remember it, is if this bitch can fucking write a book, I'm going to write the damn book. So I got started that night. I don't remember anything the rest of the day. I was book planning the rest of the day. And, 13, 15 years later, I'm still doing it. But this book came about because the main character, Dante, she is a role play character of mine that I role played with for about 10, 12 years, something like that. So I know her pretty good, and this is her final send off. So.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
During COVID, I got into D&D a little bit. So, and having already been a writer of fantasy and, doing the process of developing a character and their backstory and everything, all of a sudden I developed a character where I'm like, man, I want to use you as a main character in a future series.
Yep.
Let me do this. So I totally understand that. But yeah, so when did you decide to write this book? Because you said it was 2 parts. Obviously, you're not 13 anymore. So when did you decide, you know what, I'm going to do this?
I kind of started it in 2018. I wrote the prologue. I wanted to do the prologue in a very specific way because not everybody, but a lot of authors, when they do backstories of characters, it's usually a word vomit. And I didn't want to do a word vomit. And it's so hard to do that with fantasy because you have to set the stage, you have to get the world building out, and it's hard to do it without just throwing it all at the readers and being like, here, have this cup of tea. But so I was like, well, what if I do it in a folklore kind of way? So I wrote the prologue, and I kind of sat on it for about 6 months, and I didn't really do anything with it. And then I sent it to a friend of mine for shits and giggles, and she's like, this is really good. And it kind of kickstarted a little bit, so I wrote like a paragraph or two of this first chapter. And then I kind of sat on it again for another 6 months. And this was about the back end of 2020-ish. No, back end of 2019.
Okay.
It was right before COVID was hitting. Everybody was getting sick. And I was like, I can't go anywhere, so I'm just going to write. And I'm going to write Dante. And out came A Widow's Web, so.
That is fantastic. Now, is this supposed to be a standalone book, or is this going to be a beginning of a series?
Nope, this is the beginning of a series. It'll be a 5-book series, and it's going to have a collection novel that'll come out at the end. That'll have chapters from different parts in the book, either from a different character's POV or a completely different, like, it'll take a scene that happened and it'll do it, like, for example, this is not spoilery, but there's going to be one chapter where it's going to be from a soldier.
And let me just say one thing. I apologize if you hear like coughing in the background. My fiance just ran uphill after, I don't know, whatever, and he's like, so
Dude,
apologies to like the random noises in the background. I promise you.
Breathe, honey, breathe.
Exactly. Continue.
Definitely. But yeah, so like there will be a chapter from like a soldier's point of view. It'll be like as the guild is coming to the camp for the first time, and it's like what is thought of the guild, and so you kind of get like different perspectives all around. But it's also you get insight into different parts of the characters' backgrounds as well. So Dante came to power by unaliving her master, because she was a fun. I hate TikTok. You have to censor everything, but so she unalived him and then took control of the guild that way. And so in the collection novel, we're actually going to see that night. We're also going to see like
cool.
all of the characters meet, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So that'll come out about 3 to 6 months after the last book of the series.
Wow, that's so neat. I love it. I love it. So did you realize when you started this one, like, what was going to happen? Did you know the whole storyline, or did you kind of develop along the way kind of the main plot?
I'm kind of a mix between a planter and a pantser, so I knew like major plot points. Excuse me. But I initially thought it was only going to be 3 books. And then I got to about halfway through this book, and I was like, that's not going to happen.
No?
So out came an additional 2 books. But yeah, I pretty much had it planned out, like the big major plot points, and roughly where they were going to take place. So
yeah, that's perfect. I love that. No, that's something that I think my brain works similarly, because whenever I come up with a idea of a series, I predominantly typically know how many or around how many books they're going to be, the main plot points, the main characters, the end game of each book and series. And then as I'm writing each book independently, the subplots and certain characters will come into place and things flesh out and everything, backstories kind of fall into their order or whatnot. And so that's kind of fun. But yeah, I kind of allow the story to tell itself to a point, but I also come in with, I know where we're headed.
Yeah, I need you to go this way.
Preferably. You never know. Sometimes they do their own thing, but
all the damn time.
I love it. So your book is told through the eyes of Dante, or are you one of the writers who have multiple points of view that tell your story?
I have multiple points of view, but it's done in third person. So even though it's told from the first book has Dante, Alexander, and Felix as the POVs. So it's done in third person, but we do only focus on their perspective when we are in their POV. So
that's cool. Yeah, I'm nervous about the concept of trying to do multiple POVs in a book. And so for my, I guess, earlier series, because I have 3 right now, but eventually there'll be more, I have avoided that. It just felt right following just one perspective the whole time, but I also want to challenge myself to do something differently down the road and maybe approach a maybe not like 16 character, but 3. 3
Yeah.
sounds like a good number. A doable number.
Yeah, I thought it would be hard because I initially was very hesitant about it. I thought I was only going to do Dante, but I think because the cast is so large, not like Throne of Glass large. Oh my god, that's too much. But like there's enough characters that I can stick to 3, but you still get like a well-rounded idea of what's happening. And because it happens over such a large area, it for me POVs were needed because at one point like Dante is in X location and then the guild is in another location. So I needed to show the readers what was happening over in the guild
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to come back to where Dante's at, wherever she's at. So and it each book is going to have different POVs though. When I decided there's still going to be the core ones, there's still going to be Dante and Alexander, but with every book it's switching up as to who's staying and who's leaving. So in the second book, Felix, we don't get a POV for him. A lot of people who have read the book are thanking me for that, which trust me, I am thanking myself because he is narcissist. Um, but I mean, we do get to meet like newer characters that we only saw glimpses of in the first book, and we really get into their head, and then we just fall in love with them. So it's a lot of fun, I think, writing POVs.
Cool. Yeah, and I don't know why it shouldn't really intimidate me as much as it does, but my comfort zone is like channeling through one set of eyes, but like you were mentioning, I guess in reverse approach, but it is limiting. Like if you want to, if you have a big kingdom, if you have all these characters everywhere, yeah, you're riding through one set of eyes, you're stuck there, or you have to be super creative to find ways where he, she, they figure something else out.
Yep.
But yeah, there's pros and cons of everything. On the other hand, how do you like writing different because you're genders, and how comfortable are you writing someone from a different point of view in that sense?
I'm actually pretty comfortable with it. And I think role playing had a lot to do with that because I
Mm-hmm.
never stuck to one gender when I role played because I role played in so many different fantasy RPs that I just kind of melded to what they needed. So in one I'd be an autistic ginger female. And then the next I would be this narcissistic male alpha hole. So I mean, for me it's very easy to swap between male and female. There are moments where I'm just like, what the hell would a guy say in this situation? But I mean, that's with any female. I mean, we can't officially know what they think. But yeah, it's for me, it's pretty easy to jump into their heads and be like, okay, give me what you need.
I love that. I love that. And since I've always try, we'll see. You never know with technology to repurpose this on my YouTube platform in a couple weeks. I do every so often. We'll jump in, and if you have people chiming in, I'll kind of make sure I alert everybody. And I have someone that just posted something saying, when I try 2 or 3, 4 different stories that they all meet together.
Dude, I feel that. That is a whole ass mood.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah, I'm writing 3 right now and I'm having a hard time kind of keeping them straight, but I'm also like over exerting myself on everything else. So I think that has a lot to do with it. So,
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those head jumping things. You have to get yourself in the right space, you want to make sure their personality stays true to themselves throughout and you don't accidentally blend it with someone else. But yeah, that can be tough. For me, switching between, because I'm publishing 2 different series simultaneously, I do head jump between characters, and I just automatically, I'll be reading the story aloud, and all of a sudden I hear myself. I see the right words
Mhm.
on the paper, but I am saying like the wrong names because I'm
Mhm.
still flipped into a different mindset. Oh, sorry. Uh, it's chimed in, says, why not trying to tell 4 different stories of 4 different characters and then make them meet? Oh, you mean starting off with 4 different characters? I guess that's an approach for writing, is having 4 different ones in different locations and then they converge.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think if I've ever read a book like that before. I'm sure there are examples. I just can't think of any off my head.
I can, but I can't say it because it's spoiler for those who haven't gotten there yet.
Well, we will keep it secret.
For sure.
Okay, so what are your next plans as a writer, since you're like, I know you have the different books you already have kind of prepped in the series, but what is the next thing you're going to do? Are you concentrating on writing an actual book? Are you concentrating on advertising what you have? A little bit of both? How do you approach your time?
Little bit of both. Because a Widow's Web came out in October, up till then I had been writing and editing the second book. So it was pretty easy to just swap between that and then marketing and do that simultaneously. Now I'm promoting a book that was just published. I got to get ready to promote the second book, got to market, and I'm about to do a Kindle Vella. So I'm like, this is a lot.
It's a lot. You got to practice that juggling skill right now, because
Definitely.
that's a lot. Kindle Vella, let me know how that goes, because I've heard it sounds like everybody who's trying to do that enjoys it. It's not something I've dabbled with yet. So it sounds interesting, and I'm sure there are pros and cons again with everything, but I haven't dabbled with it, so.
So from what I understand about it, it's kind of like Wattpad meets a reading app like Dreamy, or one of those other ones, Gelato, or I don't know what it's called, but I have a friend of mine who did one of those apps, and she said she used it more like a beta reading service. And then when she finally got full custody of the book, because it's a baby and we all love our child. But when she got full custody of it, then she just sent it off to an editor at that point, instead of like going back over it, because everybody had already read it and left opinions. So I'm kind of using my Hades and Persephone. I'm going to use it the same way. I also know another author who did it, and she used it to fund her other books. So because it has to stay in Kindle Vella for 90 days.
30? Oh, is it 90? Okay, I knew there was like one of those. Okay, maybe it's 90. And 90 would probably.
I think it's 90, and then it if you take it out, it has to stay out for 30 days. I think that's how it goes. Maybe. But she used it to fund her other books while she was publishing. So I'm going to try to do it in that way also. So that I can get the series out, and then I can get a backlist going with Kindle Vella.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's always fascinating to see how writers approach, all that, because it costs money. It costs a lot of money to put out a book. And again, depending on, what tier of editor or cover designer, it can cost a lot of money, or if you're doing audiobook or stuff like that. So yeah, I never thought about, doing a Vella for funding. That's again why I'm trying to dabble and dip my toe into the Kickstarter campaign aspect and see if that helps, because again, anything that helps with the setup and the upfront cost, because we dump so much in, it'll allow us to breathe easier when the book goes out.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. My family helped fund my first book. But now I'm like, okay, I gotta fund the second myself. And I'm like, wait, how do I do that?
Yep, coming up with all these tricks. I have a question coming in for me, and it says, sorry to interrupt, what are the books with the runes on them? Those are my Viking dark fantasy series. They're novellas. There are 8 of them. There probably will be 16 in the end. And they are a kind of dark twist on Norse mythology. So that's them right now. And they're called The Guardian Speaker. Bam. But yes, we are both dark fantasy writers, so fantastic.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
can I ask, because you say dark fantasy, so what is the magic in your books? And before you pause, let me answer that one last question that popped in. I have the Guardian Speaker all on audio. Sorry, they're all on going backwards ebook through Amazon. Since I am a exclusive through Amazon author at the moment, you can also get the first 4 in print. They're bundled together in omnibus slash I guess you could refer to them as a box set kind of version. So the first 4 in print, the next 4 will be in print at the beginning of January together. And the first 2 audiobooks are out now, since I am trying to do that. And that's my first year of trying to get into that. But yes, back at you. So what is your magic system, or what kind of stuff are in your books to qualify it as fantasy? I always like this. This is really cool.
Definitely. So the biggest thing is there's both magic, but then there's also like different creatures. So the main races we see right off the bat are humans, magical humans, and elves. They do mention other species, like there's witches mentioned, trolls, dwarves, and there's one other that I can't remember right off the top of my head. But I mean, there's all different races that are constantly mentioned, and the way that I approach it is it's only mentioned when it's relevant. So I don't like bombard my readers with world building. So more may come up as I think of it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. But yeah, so Dante is a magical human that we know of. And she's what we call an elemental. So she's able to control fire. But there's other people that are mentioned, specifically elves that are mentioned, that can control things like water and air and stuff like that. But it's not just limited to that. So it's also got healing and plants and stuff like that. So it's not just limited to one, it's across the races as well.
That's cool. Well, yeah, I like that. You know, the different types of magic that, well, I guess characters can tap into. Doesn't have to be exclusive to one's creature or being or entity. You know, could be tapped in. And kind of for my Portal fantasy, since it's a magical multiverse, I do deal with a lot of elementals, but elementals could be all different kinds. You could have, I have a whole race of intelligent equine that are elemental based creatures, and so I always like that. Yeah. So being a magic person, you said elemental. So are all the magic people elemental based magic, or and how are they potentially different than you said witches? Because usually when I think of a magical person, you usually think witch, wizard, sorcerer, magus, whatever all these names are. Warlock.
So it hasn't been mentioned in the book, but I have had that question brought up because it does mention witches, but it doesn't mention their magic craft. So witches are typically spells in this book. So it's going to be spells and potions, and it's going to be like when you think of a Halloween witch, like that's what's going to come up. I mean, we're not talking like broom riding or anything like that, but yeah, potions and spells and stuff like that. But what sets it apart with like magical humans is that they're able to conjure their magic either from themselves or from an outside source. So for example, some water elementals, they need to be around water to Dante is one of those where she doesn't need something around to do it. She can conjure it herself. Nobody can figure out why. And in the second book, they try to, but they don't get close. But they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out what she is and how it does. But I mean, you mix races and you can end up doing different things depending on what the dominant gene is or whatever. So and there's different ones. Like I said, it's not just elementals. So there's another character. His name is Aloysius Nazar, and he can actually control shadows, and he can control the darkness in a room and stuff like that. So he can make it like totally dark, or he can cut someone's eyesight. He can slip in and out of the shadows. He can almost like a portal between his shadows, so he can like step through one and pop out another.
That's creepy and fantastic.
And he's actually the spy master of the guild, so it like fits him perfectly. But yeah, it really depends on the race and what and how their magic was created. Because like Nazar's, his came from dragons. Allegedly dragons taught humans how to use that magic, and that's where his ancestors come from.
That's neat. I love that. Which also brings the question, are there dragons in your book?
None that anyone's seen.
Okay.
It is mentioned that dragons did roam around, but nobody has seen a dragon since.
Okay. That's fair. Now, I'm a person who's, if someone knows me, they know probably two things. My earlier group knew that I was obsessed with dragons. Probably people who know me now think the same, but for Vikings, but go figure. Anywho, it was shock to everybody that my first book series never had a dragon in it. Nothing in the world, you know, is its own thing, and I just did not do it, and everybody just could not fathom why. Well, the two series I have right now, you're going to have dragons, so don't worry. The wait is over.
You'll get there. Definitely.
You'll get there. So, let me ask, are you indie? Or are you hybrid? Are you traditional? I don't think I've asked that yet.
I'm indie. Straight up indie. I tried doing Twitter has that pitch war. I tried doing pitch war twice. But I think because mine is so dark and there are so many controversial themes in it, nobody wants to touch it, which is fine by me because I mean that's more control that I have. And I don't have somebody breathing down my neck to either take something out or put something in. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is I wouldn't mind being a hybrid author down the line, but it also has to feel right. It has to be the right series, and you have to know that there's going to be a lot more give in that thing. Hopefully you get benefits out of it too, but there's going to be a lot more give in that than what you're used to if you have full control as Anne.
Exactly.
Which you get spoiled also after a little while. You're like, wait, I want my story exactly the way I want it. Yes. Right. It's my story.
For sure. Yeah. And I kind of knew going in that A Widow's Web was never going to be trad published because it's too dark in some areas. Like there's one chapter that does show SA, but it shows like the beginning of it. And I knew any trad publisher was going to yank that right out because they don't want to show that.
Really, it's an uncomfortable topic. And I know other authors who write books that deal with similar topic, and it's hard. It's hard. And because it's uncomfortable for a lot of readers and definitely comfortable for someone who's trying to put their name to it if you're not, you know.
Yeah. And for when it does show up in the book, because I am very much all about mental health. I have severe depression and anxiety myself. So I try to show mental health in a very positive light and show that there are no quick fixes to it. There's only coping mechanisms. And they can be healthy ones, but then I also show like the unhealthy ones and how unhealthy they can be. So I show all the positive lights and all the negative ones, but I do it in a realistic fashion. So I don't sugarcoat anything. I don't do any quick fixes or heals or anything like that. And the only reason the essay shows up is because Dante has PTSD really bad. So for her, she hits a moment and it triggers the PTSD, and that's what she goes back to. So it's a very quick glimpse, and I do put a trigger warning on the chapter itself, telling readers, no, this is not suitable for all audiences. and it kind of tells them too that this isn't like centered towards the plot. So if you want to skip it, by all means do it. It's just, it goes towards Dante's character development.
Yeah.
Shows how bad her PTSD is.
Yeah, no, I understand. And like, essay is something that I feel like should be in certain books, but it's something that one people have dealt with, and people, I think reading of someone else trying to cope with it, there's that relatability for people who've gone through it. But regardless, it is that kind of uncomfortable thing, and yeah, it makes it book or stories that much harder to print traditionally because it is such a subject people tiptoe around because for a lot of different reasons. But so let me ask, so you use a trigger warning at the beginning of that particular chapter. Do you put them anywhere else, like on your Zon page or in the book itself?
Yep, so I do have it in the book. I don't have them all listed. I have the big major ones. So all the little ones, I have a QR code that you can scan, and it goes right to my website. It goes right to my warnings. I also have it listed on my TikTok. I have a video that's pinned right at the top that has all the trigger warnings listed. Instagram is kind of hard to pin, so I try to put it up every so often so that people know. But anytime I'm talking about the book, I immediately say, this has got some heavy triggers. Check out my website. Because it is a dark, dark fantasy. So I don't want to skip around that. I don't want people going in blind. And even on the back of the book, it says trope tags listed on the author's website. So I've never skirted around that ever.
No, I was just curious because, each author who does touch on sensitive topics has to make that choice of, do you do it? And if so, where, how much, and all that kind of stuff. And everybody has different answers. So
exactly. Yeah, I think because I have severe depression and there's a lot of topics that I won't touch, but like my straight team, at the time, 2 of them were essay victims. They were my sensitivity readers specifically for that chapter. But I knew, like, with them and with other people, there were going to be topics that they need to be warned about ahead of time. So I knew straight off the bat that I was making a trigger warning page for sure.
Well, let me then ask now, being an indie author, where are your books found? Like, are you wide? Are you exclusive through Amazon? Right now, I'm currently exclusive through Amazon and all my formats, but I was just curious.
My ebook is on Kindle, and it's on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have that, you can definitely pick it up. And then the paperback is wide. There was a recent formatting issue. So it was taken down for almost a month. And I just got it back up recently. So it's slowly trickling back out into the World Wide Web. But it is on major sites like Barnes and Noble. I think it's back up on Books A Million. Yes. And then it's on Walmart. My mom found it the other day. She was like, wait a minute. So yes, for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, I've been considering trying to figure out, should I, in my theoretical time that I don't have, try to go back through and put all my print books on something like Ingram Spark and have them converted, but that's a whole new format. That's a whole new book cover because they are different. And it's just I have to go back, and that effort and time, plus learning a whole new platform for me, because Ingram Sparks is different and than it'll be from what I know. And so it's something I want to consider. It might be nice to do. I keep pushing it off. But it's nice talking to authors who are wide and seeming to like that. Do you have both paperback and hardcover, or just paperback?
Just paperback. I knew with the debut there was a high risk that people would not want to take a chance on me, especially knowing it was a series until at least a couple books were out. So I wasn't going to waste the money on a hardback right away. If in a year or two it becomes Book Talk famous or whatever, then hell yeah, I'll do hardbacks, I'll do special editions, whatever. I'll make t-shirts and all that. But no, right now I'm just doing ebook and paperback.
So. And those are the
go-tos anyways.
Mhm.
I mean, ebooks like still king right now, but there are people who are like me who like print, and if you have at least the paperback, you're usually happy. And then you have that super fan that'll start bugging you and be like, "Can I have a hardcover?"
I've got several of those right now, and I'm like, y'all, hold your horses. Like, wait.
I promise you'll get the first print. I promise you. You just have to wait. But no, I understand. Like, that was one of the things I did this year, along with going into the audiobook world, was trying to, because Zon, it was the first time they allowed their authors to print hardcover. And so I was just like, you know what? It's sold. I'm going to do this. It is time to expand. But, you know, just learning things as you go.
I mean, that's all we ever do.
Exactly. So how do you reach new readers? Like, what is your favorite way to find?
TikTok has been the most effective, for sure. I've been latching on to these CapCut edit the template ones because those are
I
like
noticed that recently.
But yeah, TikTok has been the most effective as of right now. I've done a couple of Facebook groups. I did it for my arcs, and that helped a lot. But they're not liking me right now because I'm like trying to promote my book, and they're like, you're doing it too often. Whatever. But
you have to do all the things all the time.
Yeah.
Go.
Yes. It's like, you say I can promote myself. Well, you're doing it too often. Damn it. So, but yeah, TikTok's been the most effective for sure.
Yeah, that's what I definitely noticed. Like, I am a person, and I'll admit that, like, I have been trying to educate myself on that true advertising, and been finally figuring out, at least for my debut series, starting to figure out stuff that's been working on that. And so that is my biggest way of getting or pulling new sales, though drawing a lot of attention and just feedback. It's through this platform. It's interesting because here there's a lot of engagement, so it all depends on what you want. Do you want engagement? But we also want sales too, and trying to figure out how to get it all.
Yeah.
Don't want it all.
Definitely.
Must have it all right now.
For sure.
So let me ask it, what is something that you would want potential new readers to know about you and your book that we haven't touched base on yet? Or is there anything that you're like, ooh, I do want to make sure we cover this?
I mean, characters are badass. That's like my core with all my books. They're not, well, and one thing I love about Dante too, and I've heard this from several readers, is that she's not, and I'm not saying like your books are like this, but some fantasy books, like the main character who's considered badass, the female, she's kind of whiny, and none of the characters are whiny bitches in this, so everybody's loving it because we see Dante kick ass and take
I love it.
And it's like, it's there in the pages, it's in the proof. But yeah, it's nothing but badassery and action and fun. First book is more political, but the second book is all war, and that'll be coming out next year. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of action. So
great. So where did you get the name Dante? Because when I hear Dante, I think Dante's Inferno off the cuff. So where did you come up with Dante for your main character?
Dante's Inferno.
Yay, champion. Okay,
I've always loved the title. I've always loved Dante's Allegretti's name. And when I created Dante all those years ago, I was like, I really want to use Dante, but I don't want it to be a male character. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna make her female. Like, we're gonna do this. And then as I'm writing the book, it mentions that her name, it means endearing, and I didn't know that till I wrote the book. And I'm like, yeah, well, this fits, so we're just gonna throw that in there. But yeah, it was Dante Allegretti and his novel that inspired her. So.
Oh, that is fantastic. And how about the other character names then? Are they all pulled from different books, or did some of them you just like because you like the sound of them?
So I use a generator.
Hey, That works.
Fantasy name generator. I've been using it since I've role played. And so I was just putzing around on there and I found everybody else. Actually, and one of the characters, he has a nickname that we didn't figure out until like later on when I was writing. One of my alpha readers named him Shitlicks. So his name in the book is Felix, but we call him Shitlicks because he's a narcissistic asshole. So anytime we refer to him, it's always Shitlicks. And I made sure to put that in the second book. So there's a moment where Alexander's just sitting there, he's like, God, Felix is an asshole, a shithead. Shitlicks. Oh, I'm keeping that. So, it's gonna be in the rest of the series. It's great.
I love that. I love that. No, I think I love it. It's so amazing to me how each author is so different, and especially when they're designing and figure things out, like character names, because that was new to me. I haven't heard the name generator before, but I have heard Scrabble. I have heard Googling the top 100 most popular names and going down the list. I have heard people, just pulling things they love, and other people who do intensive research to try to find the perfect name and everything in between. So it's always just interesting.
Yeah, I used all of them, all but Dante as a generator, especially like the elves and stuff, because I don't watch Lord of the Rings enough to know elven names, so I needed help on that one for sure.
That works. That is pretty neat. And you can name an elf friend. I mean, come on. Yeah. It is your fantasy. You can do it. It doesn't have to sound, the Scandinavian descent, Tolkien kind of memorialized. You can do what you want with your Fred the elf.
It's got to be with a Y if it's in fantasy. It's got to be FRY. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you just add, wise. There's some, I wish I could remember his handle. There's an author here, and he's always doing crazy things with his little videos, and one of his series is how he comes up with fantasy names, and he'll take the most mundane name and do something like that. Add a Y, add an extra N, voila! Character. And I'm like, absolutely.
It's sad how accurate that is.
Absolutely. Why it's funny is because it's true. It's embarrassingly true. Oh my goodness.
For sure.
Well, I'm glad we've been able to chit chat, and I'm glad you figured it out. Now I know if we ever have that issue, I guess I should ask that in the future. I never thought about asking that, because they do have those age, things for lives, and I've always done the same thing every time, never thinking about even inquiring. So
well, like I said, it's a new feature. I think it's only cropped up in the last 2 months.
Okay, good.
Oh, and
also, even better, I'm just was over my head.
I know it would lock. Like, I honestly didn't know it would lock once you had the live thing in. So good to know.
Well, I guess that makes sense, because if you potentially have someone on the flip side who's younger, you can't necessarily kick them out. All of a sudden be like, bye. Bye. We're going to talk about other things now.
Definitely.
Yeah, no. It's always hard to keep up with these trends. I'm sorry. Yes?
I will say I like the mature theme app portion of the app now, especially for those of us who do talk about dark genre, because then we don't have to worry about the young trolls getting all inside. So.
Yep. No, yeah. Now that I'm aware of the feature, I will probably use it too, depending again on what level of talk, and because I've always tried to keep it pretty, because you never know who's going to pop on.
No.
Never know. Okay, so one final question, at least from me, is name a book, not your own, that you would recommend to someone. For whatever reason. It could be... I got you.
Damn. So many. I I'll name this one because I was fangirling last night. Unbreak Me by Reese Rivers. It's
Okay.
a wide shoes, single mother, and one guy is grumpy, the other is enemies to lovers, and then the other one is nurse wounded soldier. So you've got like a mix of tropes in there, and it's pretty cool. So
I love that. I love it. Oh, talking about tropes, how confident do you feel about writing your book's blurb? Because
the first one I like struggled with so hardcore, and I think because it is like the first one, so it sets the stage, and you're like,
yep.
I gotta get this right. The second one came out like so easy, and I was like, what? Why?
Did I do something wrong?
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think the only part I struggled with book 2 is I have there's a series of words at the top, and they kind of describe the main character Dante up to that point, so up to the start of the novel. So trying to come up with for book 2 the words that would follow these and kind of encompass all of book 1. And I'm like, damn, I'm forgetting something. I don't know what the hell it is.
What are the words that are on the back of your? I want to know
So this
now.
one is free, slave, leader, assassin, thief, minion, and villain.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
Oh, so and then it'll just progress from there with every book.
That is so neat. I love it.
Definitely.
Absolutely love it. Well, I guess. Oh, okay? So you have your website. Where can people find you? I know you're on this platform. If people wanted to follow you,
I God, I have like I have Instagram, a Hive. We just made a giant Discord server for readers, authors, editors, narrators, designers, readers, book talker. Like it's this massive Discord. It's linked through my link tree. But I also have Facebook. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Yeah, I've got to be forgetting something.
I will be gathering all this information, and when I repost this, I'll put them down below so people can find and follow.
It's like, you can find them all through the link tree in my bio as well. So if I am forgetting one, head there.
Perfect. And your website, obviously.
Yeah.
You have your website. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, do you do a newsletter too, or okay? I was gonna say most authors do, but not all. So
I didn't start mine until right before or right about when I got the cover back, because I didn't really have content to put out. But once the cover got in, and then I got the editing back, then I started having content. But yeah, I have a newsletter that goes out monthly, and then I have coupon deals as well that you can sign up for, and those are sent out as they come up.
So how does I actually don't know anything about coupons as an author. So wait, explain that one for me because I want to know how that works because I always like learning things.
So it really depends on the website. I use Wix for mine. Wix has a lot of like automations you can do. You can make your own coupons. So like I have so many coupons that are just out there that, people can use at any time. But then I also have automations where my whole site will go up and I don't have to touch it. All I have to do is put in the dates, how much it is, and it'll do everything. It'll put it all at checkout. So Wix is super easy to use. That's all I've used when creating websites. So I wholeheartedly recommend.
And are these for books that are your author copy books that you're selling direct? Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, how does this work? I want to like figure that out. Okay. I didn't know Wix did coupons.
But then I also sell like stickers.
Ooh, cute. I like it.
And I have prints and stuff like that for my book. So
very nice.
Is the art print. And then I also have a bookmark, which is here it is. One of the bookmarks. I also have other ones on my shop. So I use my shop quite a bit for different things, which I like. So super easy to use as well.
Perfect. I See, now that is the thing. I always
Mhm.
learn at least one thing. Now I've learned two. One, I have to be careful how I set the edits for these lives beforehand. Two, have to check out Wix for coupons. Interesting. Now I have my homework for tomorrow.
So easy to use. Like I said,
Mhm.
I've been using it for years, and I've turned a lot of authors onto it because it is super, super simple, and they have so many templates you can choose from to set up your site, and it's literally like a monkey can do it. Like it's so
Yeah.
freaking easy.
No, I love it. I must have missed the memo about coupons.
Oh, yeah,
Well, no.
for sure.
And also, I love the fact that your tree is up and behind you. I still have to get mine. It's very pretty, and I've been staring at the glowing star behind you.
For sure. I have I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I have my other lights as well around
Yeah.
my center. But that's usually hidden by me. So
You are ahead of the game because I am behind this year.
uh,
Extremely behind.
I'm spending 2 weeks at my grandma's, so I had to get up and on it.
Hey, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for helping me figure this out today. I'm glad I got to finally talk to you. I'm glad we were able to do this and succeed.
Definitely. And thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun tonight.
And again, I will let you know when I repurpose this in a few weeks. And let me know in the future how your Kindle Vella goes and book 2. And if you ever want to do this again, now I know how to get you on quicker.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I'll definitely hit you up.
Perfect. Well, I will talk to you soon and have a lovely night.
Yep. Y'all have a great night. Take care.
Bye.